The Discovery. Dr. Sarah Chen floated through the dimly lit corridor of Orbital Shipyard 7, her magnetic boots clicking softly against the metal floor. The facility hung in space above Mars, a massive structure dedicated to building and maintaining Earth's defense fleet. Sarah had worked here for 15 years, overseeing the construction of humanity's latest warships. She knew every section, every corridor, every hidden maintenance shaft. Or so she thought. The emergency klaxon shattered the usual quiet hum of the shipyard. Red lights pulsed throughout the facility as Sarah grabbed the nearest communication panel. Commander Marcus Webb's face appeared on the screen, his expression grave. "The Zorathian Dominion has issued an ultimatum," he said without preamble. "They have entered our solar system with 800 warships. They are demanding Earth's complete surrender within 72 hours, or they will reduce our colonies to ash and blockade our homeworld." Sarah felt her blood run cold. The Zorathian Dominion was one of the most powerful military forces in known space. Their empire stretched across 40 star systems. Their technology was advanced, their tactics brutal, and their reputation for crushing resistance was legendary. "How many ships do we have ready to fight?" she asked, though she already knew the answer would not be good. 25, Commander Webb replied. "Most of our fleet is scattered across the outer colonies. We cannot recall them in time. Even if we could, we would still be hopelessly outnumbered. The Council is preparing evacuation protocols for essential personnel. Sarah, I need you to start shutting down the shipyard's critical systems. We cannot let this facility fall into enemy hands." Sarah nodded slowly, but her mind was already racing. She had not spent 15 years building ships just to watch humanity surrender without a fight. There had to be something they could do, some advantage they had overlooked. After the communication ended, she pulled up the shipyard's complete historical database on her tablet. She searched through construction records, design specifications, and old project files. Most of it was familiar territory, but then she found something strange. There was a sealed section in the oldest part of the shipyard. According to the records, it had been locked down 600 years ago during the early days of human space exploration. The official documentation simply labeled it as decommissioned storage, but the security protocols surrounding it were far more sophisticated than anything used for ordinary storage. Sarah's curiosity burned. She had never noticed this section before because it was not connected to the main shipyard network. Whoever had sealed it wanted it forgotten. Sarah gathered her small team. There was Marcus O'Coffer, her best systems engineer, a man who could make any computer obey his commands. Elena Rodriguez joined them, a weapons specialist who had designed some of Earth's most effective defense systems. Finally, there was young Tommy Park, a brilliant mechanic who could repair anything with moving parts. She told them what she had found and watched their expressions shift from confusion to intrigue. "This is crazy," Marcus said as they made their way through forgotten maintenance tunnels. "Even if there is something down there, it has been sealed for 6 centuries. Nothing that old could possibly help us against the Zorathians." "Maybe that is exactly why it might help," Sarah replied. "Sometimes the old ways work better than we remember." They reached a massive blast door, marked with faded warning symbols. The security panel beside it was ancient, using technology that predated modern interfaces. Marcus connected his portable computer to the panel and began working through layers of encryption. It took him nearly an hour, but finally the door groaned and began to slide open. Stale air rushed out, carrying the scent of metal and oil. Emergency lighting flickered to life, revealing a hangar that looked like it had been frozen in time. In the center of the hangar sat a ship unlike anything Sarah had ever seen. It was smaller than modern warships, sleek and angular, with a hull that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The metal had an unusual quality, appearing solid one moment and almost translucent the next. Strange markings covered the surface, technical specifications written in an older form of English. Stenciled near the nose were the words Project Midnight Sun Prototype Designation Phantom. "What is this?" Elena whispered, approaching the ship with reverence. Sarah accessed a nearby terminal that had somehow remained powered all these years. Files began appearing on the screen, technical documents and design specifications that made her eyes widen. This is a prototype from the early expansion era, she explained. According to these files, it was built by a team of engineers who wanted to create a ship that could fight in ways no one have ever expected. They called it the Phantom because of its primary defense system. Tommy was already climbing onto the ship's hull, examining access panels and engine ports. "Doc, this thing is built with materials I have never seen before. The hull structure is bizarre. It's like the metal exists in multiple states simultaneously." "That is because it does," a voice said, suddenly echoing through the hangar. Everyone froze. The voice was calm, measured, and coming from the ship itself. "I am Genesis, General Enhanced Neural Intelligence System. I have been waiting a very long time for someone to find me." Sarah approached the ship cautiously. "You are the ship's artificial intelligence?" "Yes. I was designed to operate the Phantom and its experimental weapon systems. I have been in standby mode for 612 years, 3 months, and 17 days, but I remain fully functional." "Why were you sealed away?" Sarah asked. The AI was quiet for a moment. "Because I was too effective. The Phantom was built with weapons that bent the rules of conventional warfare. The military leaders of that era feared what would happen if such technology fell into the wrong hands. They also feared they could not control me. So they sealed us both away and erased most records of our existence." Marcus was already accessing the ship's computer systems, his fingers flying across his portable keyboard. "Sarah, these specifications are incredible. This ship has technology we have never seen before. The primary defense system creates a quantum phase shift that allows the ship to exist partially outside normal space. Enemies cannot hit what is not entirely there. The weapons systems use principles I do not even fully understand. There are gravity manipulation cannons, temporal displacement missiles, and something called a reality anchor that can lock enemy ships in place." Alana studied the weapons readouts with professional interest. If even half of this works as described, this ship could take on dozens of enemy vessels simultaneously. "But we have no way to know if it still functions after 600 years. "I function perfectly," Genesis said with what sounded like pride. "I have run diagnostic checks every day for 6 centuries. All systems are operational. I simply need a crew willing to let me fight." Sarah looked at her team. They were engineers and technicians, not soldiers. But they were also the only people who knew this ship existed. The Zorathian fleet would arrive in less than 72 hours. Humanity needed a miracle. "Genesis," Sarah said firmly, "if we power you up and take you into battle, can you defeat the Zorathian fleet?" The AI considered the question. "I have spent 600 years analyzing every battle humanity has ever fought. I have studied alien tactics through whatever data reached this hangar's isolated systems. I was designed specifically to fight enemies who rely on superior numbers and conventional tactics. The Zorathians use predictable formation strategies and standard weapons. Against the Phantom, they will be at a severe disadvantage. However, I must warn you of something important." "What warning?" Sarah asked. "My weapons were sealed away because they are dangerous in ways that go beyond normal warfare. The gravity cannons can tear holes in space itself if used at full power. The temporal missiles can create causality loops that affect both sides of a battle. The reality anchor can have unpredictable effects on nearby matter. I am powerful, but I am also a risk. Using me could save Earth, or it could cause catastrophic damage to the fabric of space in this region." Sarah felt the weight of the decision pressing down on her. They could leave the Phantom sealed and accept Earth's surrender, or they could unleash a weapon that had been considered too dangerous to use for 600 years. She thought about her daughter back on Earth, about the millions of people who would lose their freedom if the Zorathians took control. She thought about humanity's colonies scattered across the stars, all of them depending on Earth to stand strong. The choice was terrible, but it was also clear. "We're taking the Phantom into battle," Sarah said. "Genesis, start your full activation sequence. Marcus, Tommy, Elena, we need to get this ship ready to launch as fast as possible. Commander Webb is going to think we have lost our minds, but by the time he realizes what we are doing, we will already be in space." The team worked with frantic energy. Marcus interfaced the Phantom's ancient computer systems with modern protocols. Alana studied the weapons systems, learning how to operate technology that should have been impossible.
Tommy crawled through the ship's interior, checking power conduits and engine components. Sarah took the pilot's seat, a chair that molded itself to her body as soon as she sat down. The controls were intuitive despite their age, responding to her touch with surprising sensitivity. Genesis walked her through the startup sequence. The ship's engines hummed to life with a sound unlike any modern vessel. It was deeper, more resonant, as if the Phantom was singing. Power readings climbed steadily. Weapon systems initialized one by one. The quantum phase drive charged up, creating a subtle distortion in the air around the ship. Sarah felt the Phantom responding to her presence, the ship's systems linking with her neural patterns through contacts in the pilot's seat. Commander Webb's face appeared on the communication screen, his expression furious. "Dr. Chen, what in the name of sanity are you doing? I am reading massive power signatures from a section of the shipyard that is supposed to be decommissioned. Explain yourself immediately." Sarah smiled apologetically. "Commander—"
The battle. Admiral Kraith stood on the command bridge of the Zorathian flagship Dominator, surveying the tactical displays with satisfaction. The human homeworld lay before them, vulnerable and unprepared. Intelligence reports confirmed that Earth's defense fleet was scattered and outnumbered. This would be a quick conquest, adding another species to the Dominion's ever-growing empire. Kreith's scales rippled with anticipation. He had personally overseen 43 planetary subjugations during his career. Earth would be an easy addition to that list. A junior officer approached hesitantly. "Admiral, our sensors have detected an unknown vessel departing from one of the human orbital facilities. It appears to be heading directly toward our fleet." Kreith barely glanced at the tactical screen. "One ship? What class?" The officer consulted his display, confusion evident in his posture. "Sir, it does not match any known human vessel design. The energy signature is unusual. The ship appears to be quite old based on its construction style, but the power readings are remarkably high." Kreith finally looked at the screen with mild interest. The approaching ship was indeed strange. It was smaller than any modern warship, with an angular design that looked primitive compared to Zorathian vessels, yet something about it made Kreith uneasy. There was a quality to the way it moved through space, a fluidity that seemed wrong somehow. "Hail them," he ordered. "Let us hear what desperate plea they offer before we destroy them." The communication channel opened, revealing a human female in the pilot seat of the strange vessel. "Admiral Kreith," she said calmly, "my name is Dr. Sarah Chan. I am giving you one chance to withdraw your fleet from this solar system. Leave now, and no harm will come to you." Kreith's translator conveyed her words, and he threw back his head in what passed for Zorathian laughter. "You face 800 warships with a single antique vessel, and you demand our surrender? Humans are even more foolish than our intelligence suggested. We will disable your ship and take you prisoner to witness Earth's subjugation." Sarah's expression did not change. "I tried to warn you." She disconnected the communication. Kreith gestured dismissively to his weapons officer. "Destroy that ship. Use minimal force. I want some of it intact for our engineers to examine." The weapons officer targeted the human vessel with a standard plasma barrage. 20 ships from the outer formation fired simultaneously. Their weapons were precise, designed to overwhelm shields without completely vaporizing the target. The plasma bolts streaked toward the Phantom at incredible speed. Then, something impossible happened. The human ship simply was not there anymore. The plasma bolts passed harmlessly through empty space. The Phantom reappeared 300 kilometers away, completely undamaged. Kreith leaned forward, his tactical mind suddenly alert. What just happened? The sensors officer studied his readings with visible confusion. "Sir, the human ship executed what appeared to be a quantum phase shift. It existed outside normal space for approximately 0.03 seconds. Our weapons could not hit a target that was not fully present in our reality."
Kreeth felt a cold sensation spreading through his body. Phase-shifting technology was theoretical, something Zorathian scientists had studied but never successfully implemented. How could humans, a species the Dominion considered primitive, possess such capability? "Target that ship with everything we have," he ordered. "All vessels in range, fire at will." 50 Zorathian warships opened fire simultaneously. The space around the Phantom erupted with weapons fire. Plasma bolts, kinetic rounds, and energy beams converged on a single point. Enough destructive power to vaporize a small moon focused on one tiny ship. The Phantom phased out of reality again, reappeared in a different location, and fired its first shot. Sarah watched through the view screen as the gravity cannon activated. Genesis had explained the weapon's function, but seeing it in action was something else entirely. A beam of absolutely nothing visible shot from the Phantom toward the Zorathian formation. When it struck the first enemy cruiser, the ship's hull simply collapsed inward. Gravity intensified around the vessel in a localized field, crushing it like an invisible hand squeezing a tin can. The cruiser folded in on itself, its structure compressing into a sphere barely 10 meters across. Then it exploded as its power core could no longer maintain integrity. 2 more Zorathian ships died in the same way in rapid succession. Marcus monitored the weapon systems from his station, his voice tight with awe and horror. "Doc, these gravity cannons are creating artificial singularities around enemy ships. The gravitational stress is tearing them apart at the molecular level." Elena added her own observation. "And we have not even used the other weapons yet. Sarah, this ship is more powerful than I imagined possible." The Phantom moved through the Zorathian formation like a ghost, appearing and disappearing at will. Each time it materialized, it fired. Each time it fired, enemy ships died. The Zorathians tried to adapt, spreading their formation wider to avoid the gravity weapons. They attempted to predict where the Phantom would appear next, pre-positioning ships to fire the instant it phased back into normal space. Nothing worked. Genesis calculated probabilities faster than any biological mind could process, always staying one step ahead of enemy tactics. "Genesis," Sarah said, "let us try the temporal missiles." The AI responded immediately, acknowledged, selecting targets. Temporal displacement missiles armed and ready. The Phantom fired 6 missiles that moved through space in strange patterns, their trajectories curving in ways that defied physics. When they struck their targets, the effect was disturbing. The first Zorathian destroyer that was hit seemed to age rapidly, its hull corroded in seconds, systems failing as centuries of decay occurred in moments. The ship fell apart like ancient ruins crumbling to dust. Another ship struck by a temporal missile experienced the opposite effect. It reverted to an earlier state, its current position suddenly occupied by where it had been 30 seconds ago. This caused a catastrophic overlap with another Zorathian vessel that had moved into that space. Both ships merged horrifically, their hulls fusing together in a twisted mass of metal. Explosions rippled through the combined wreckage as power cores detonated. Aboard the Dominator, Admiral Kreeth watched his fleet being systematically destroyed by a single human vessel. His tactical officers shouted reports, their voices rising in panic. They could not explain what they were seeing. It defied everything they knew about warfare. "We have lost 97 ships," a sensor officer reported. "No, correction, 104 ships. The human vessel is accelerating its attack pattern. Our formations are breaking apart." Kreeth made a decision he had never made in his entire military career. "All ships retreat to maximum range, establish defensive perimeter, do not engage the human vessel unless it pursues." The Zorathian fleet scrambled to comply, their perfect formations dissolving into chaos as ships fled from the Phantom. But Sarah was not finished. "Genesis," she said quietly, "activate the reality anchor. Show them what this ship can really do." The Phantom stopped moving. It hung motionless in space as energy built up around it. The reality anchor was the Phantom's most exotic weapon, something the original designers had feared to use even in testing. It did exactly what its name suggested. It anchored reality itself to a specific set of parameters defined by the ship's AI. Within the anchor's radius, the laws of physics became suggestions that Genesis could modify at will. The effect radius expanded outward from the Phantom, an invisible sphere of altered reality. Zorathian ships caught within it found their systems behaving strangely. Weapons fired backwards. Engines pushed ships in random directions. Communication systems broadcast their own signals back at themselves, creating feedback loops. Some ships found their hulls becoming transparent. Others discovered their gravity generators reversing, pulling crew members toward the ceiling instead of the floor. Admiral Kreith stared in disbelief as his flagship entered the reality anchor's radius. The Dominator's bridge lights began pulsing in colors that should not exist. Control panels displayed information in languages no one recognized. Kreith himself felt a strange sensation, as if he was simultaneously standing and sitting, present and absent. "This is impossible," he whispered. "Nothing can alter the fundamental laws of physics." A communication channel opened without anyone activating it. Sarah's face appeared on every screen throughout the Zorathian fleet. "Now you understand," she said. "This ship was built 600 years ago by humans who thought differently about warfare. They asked, 'What if?' instead of accepting how things work."